So welcome to another unboxing video from theplayersaid.com. My name's Alexander, and today we're taking a look at a new game from GMT. This is called Versailles 1919, and this is a collaboration, that's the correct word, excuse me, by the great Mark Herman and the great Jeff Engelstein. And this is a game that, unsurprisingly, Versailles is a game represents the negotiations that were done to create the Treaty of Versailles, which was signed after the armistice during the end of World War I. So this game supports up to 4 players, and we actually played this with Mark when it was in its prototype kind of playtesting phase about a year ago in 2019, and it was very, very good. Some of the nuance, some small bits and pieces have been changed with a few values, different things, but the game is good. We played it with 4. It was myself, Grant, Mark Herman, and Mo from Mo's Gaming Table. We all sat down and played this for a couple hours. Excellent fun. But it's not a war game. You are literally heads of state. One player plays as the US, one player plays as the French, one is the UK, and the other plays as a kind of a combo representing the Italians and the Japanese, the two kind of smaller, maybe not smaller, but the two smaller factions are kind of put into one. So that there's 4 players, and you're vying for control of issues as to which issues get debated and how those get resolved. So you're basically trying to carve up, frankly, post-World War I kind of the global outlook and other domestic issues and international affairs. You're trying to carve them up and so that you get the benefit of those. And it's about gaining, victory points or kind of prestige and all that kind of stuff. You have a set of goals that you're working towards. Complexity is a 6. That's fairly arbitrary, if we're honest. We all know that. Apparently we got really good solo mod in here, so that'll be interesting to play around with at some point. Probably with the kind of non-player bots that you get in something like Churchill or a coin game. But let's crack this open. Comes in a nice big 3-inch box. And it is chock full. Okay. So the first thing we got ourselves a playbook. And this has extended examples of play, solitaire examples of play, a lot of design notes, and then some solo play aids in the back as well, I guess. That's probably what this is here on the back. But the playbook itself, again, as you'd expect from new GMT games, everything's dual column, lots of full color illustrations. This is all the stuff that's going to walk you through how to play the game as an example, if you're just trying to learn out, not a bad way to go about doing it. The actual rules themselves, not that thick, honestly. We've got 17 pages of rules, 18 pages of rules at best. Again, dual column, everything's fully illustrated, which is very, very nice. Lots of examples, and once you actually start playing it, this game was not that complex. Don't be intimidated by this. That 6 complexity is not, there's way more complex games out there. This is a solitaire play aid, single-sided. That's the same one that was printed on the back of the playbook. So the counter sheet, singular, looks like we just got the 1 in here. This is very, very nice. We like this a lot. So it's 1 sheet. These are the new pre-rounded GMT counters, which you like a lot. I like the color palette on these. Everything is very clear, very crisp, and just so we can get a good look, these punch out very nicely. Oops, he says. So these are some of the naval ones. We've got US and Brits on there. But if you look, those are nice and rounded in the corners, no mess on those. So appreciate that. But just the single sheet counters are to get a whole mess about anything else. Okay, scoring pad. This is just a pad of keeping track. These are dual-sided. So you've got all this stuff here. Oh, maybe they changed that. Maybe it's just an Italian player now. Okay. Well, a whole bunch of those. If you ever play this game this many times, good on you. Alright. We have the map, or board, and we'll just whip this out. Normally we kind of save this till the end, but it's not a map in the sense of your traditional war game. This is a board game. But it's very much a representation, kind of the Palace of Versailles. Not in a literal sense. But you'll have issues that are on the table that you're trying to influence. And you'll have guests of honor coming in and different crises that are going on that all need to be resolved as a result of that. And there's a waiting room of people and issues. So not only are you trying to vote on what's going on right now, you're also trying to influence what's next up on the docket. And then there's discard holding boxes and all this kind of stuff. So it's you know, if you're not in the thick of it now, you might say, well, hey, I'll vote on an issue for you if you help me bring this issue that's important to me to the table. So there's some really nice layers of negotiation going on in this game. Really, really like it. Again, this is a cool color palette. I do enjoy this. This is nice. So we have a little matrix here to do with the various different theaters into which you can deploy random region generator as well. And just some holding boxes and tracks for different different types of... Yeah, Japan. It is Japan, Italy. Okay. Well, you're trying to get your people to be happy or unhappy, and that might affect based on what your victory conditions are. And there's a number of other things on the track as well to do with your military involvement in kind of the world. So we have we have a single D6 that's inexplicably in a bag, but it's a little black die with blue pips. That's pretty cool. Never seen one of those from GMT before. That's nice. We do have a bunch of wooden pieces. These are a lot of fairly standard cubes and discs that you've seen in a lot of other games. So we got yellow, blue, red, and white for the 4 different players. But the rest of the game are these cards. It's the only other thing that's in this box. So we've got here, these are these crises cards. Okay, so we have a little card for the active player, and just the detail on this card is just gorgeous. This is the kind of stuff that I'm in. Like, sign me up for this kind of first player marker, right? This is what I like. So we have a set of strategy cards, which are these round ones. We have a set of green event cards. And these are standard size. And then we have a set of these issues, and these are much, much bigger in size, and we'll get there in a second. So the strategy... I don't know exactly how they do it, but these are the kind of things that you're going to score. So if you get dealt this card, the British and French had a strong drive to seek reparations and German material. So you'll be dealt, I think you're dealt one of these, or you're dealt 2 and you get to pick one. And this is what you score. Certain things score you better. So if the Japanese and Italians don't sign the treaty, you get 3 points apiece. But for each of the communist issues, 2 points apiece. So you get different values, and these will be distributed to players. Your victory conditions will be different, which again makes the game very dynamic in that way. I like that a lot. The events. So these are the events go into here, into the crises, and then into the room where they might actually start to affect things. It's historical photos, which again, big fan of. And they just tell you things that you do, things that happen. But they also, some of them will have uprising checks on them at +1 or -1, depending on who they are. Oh, look at Tochi-Man, how about that? But yeah, there's a ton of these, look gorgeous. And then the last thing that we have is this deck of, he says, issue cards. And just for the size comparison, right? These are standard poker size cards, and these are much, much larger, these issue cards. Little play aids, so you get 4 of those. But these are the actual issues that you're going to have debated. So you'll have a stack of them over here in your issues draw deck, and you'll flip a bunch of them into the waiting room, and from the waiting room they may or may not come onto the table, and the order in which, again, those happen, that's up to you to get those in there. So you'll have, basically, this is the issue. The issue is Syria, right? And it's worth a number of points. And so what you're voting on and committing your political power and resources to is, which outcome do you want? Do you want to have a French mandate, in which case all these things happen? A UK mandate, in which case all these things happen? Or do we want Syria to be independent, in which case all these happen? And all of these symbols will have game effects. You know, if we start messing around with this, the Middle East is going to start going up. In which case there might be a lot of unrest there. In which case we might need, you know, if I've got points invested in the Middle East, I might need to send in my troops to quell those. So not only are you trying to vote on things which are good for you, you're also trying to harm your friends at the table so that they get committed or stuck in quagmires, which means they've got less pull at the table, so maybe you could slip in an extra issue or two. Really, really, to me, that's fun. So I love that kind of back and forth and negotiation, trying to underhandedly, you know, mess each other over, but all with smiles on our faces. I don't know. I had a great time playing this when we did. The final components are gorgeous. We're actually going to play this here fairly soon. We got an opportunity to do so, so we're going to get this out. There's a ton of issues that come through, and every game is so different based on just the sheer order in which these all come up. And then, in combination with which issues are and aren't on the table, you'll almost never have the same situation twice, just because of the number of combos between all these as to what's on the table at the moment and what's available. Again, not a war game, but a fun game. You know, it's a little bit Euro-y, so to speak, where it's trying to get, you know, trying to get symbols to move some tracks to get some points. Normally something that's quite dry and I don't like, but I had a blast playing this, and it's one that's a very interesting topic as well, frankly, as far as I'm concerned. So appreciate you guys tuning in. This is Versailles 1919 from GMT Games. We'll get this to the table here really soon. You'll get a review from this one as well. But having already played it in its nascent state, it was very, very good. So I would recommend this, especially if you've got a group of 4 people. 3 or 4, this game's going to play really well. I just can't speak to the solo or any 2-player options where you'd have a solo bot or anything like that. I'm not sure. But we played with 4 and it was very, very good. So appreciate you guys tuning in. I've been Alexander from theplayersaid.com.